There is a certain kind of presence that cannot be ignored, a presence that walks into the room quietly yet shifts the entire atmosphere, a presence that does not demand attention but commands it through sheer intensity. And if you've ever encountered a Sigma INFJ, then you know exactly what I mean, because unlike anyone else, they carry a power that is not loud, not chaotic, but surgical, precise, and utterly unshakable. Most people underestimate them. They mistake their silence for weakness, their solitude for loneliness, their empathy for fragility, and in doing so, they walk blindly into a force of nature that dismantles illusions, cuts through lies, and rewrites dynamics in ways that leave others disarmed, unsettled, and even intimidated. The truth is, the Sigma INFJ is extremely dangerous, not because they crave power, not because they seek destruction, but because their mind, their soul, and their very identity operate on a level that others cannot predict, cannot control, and cannot resist. And in this video, we are going to uncover the 8 reasons why a Sigma INFJ carries this quiet, magnetic power. By the time we get to reason number 5, you'll understand why people who cross them rarely recover. And by the time we arrive at number 8, you'll see why the Sigma INFJ doesn't even need to try. Their very existence is a storm waiting to be felt. So let's step into their world. Let's peel back the layers. And let's expose the truth about why the Sigma INFJ is far more dangerous than the world is prepared to admit. 1. Their silence is never empty. For most people, silence is just the absence of noise, a gap to be filled with chatter, distraction, or meaningless conversation. But for a Sigma INFJ, silence is not empty, it is loaded, it is alive, it is a weapon, and when they choose to withhold words, it is not because they have nothing to say, but because they are calculating, observing, dissecting every detail with an intensity that would terrify anyone who knew just how much they were seeing. This silence is dangerous because it disarms people. Others assume that because the Sigma INFJ is quiet, they are passive, detached, or even oblivious, when in reality, the opposite is true. Every pause, every unreadable glance, every moment of stillness is filled with information gathering, with deep intuitive processing that connects dots others cannot even perceive. And when the Sigma INFJ finally decides to speak, their words land like thunder, precise, irrefutable, and impossible to ignore. They do not waste words. They do not argue for the sake of noise. They strike with language that exposes truths, dismantles lies, and leaves people speechless. Their silence is their shield. Their silence is their strategy. And their silence is the first reason why they are extremely dangerous, because while everyone else is talking, they are preparing. 2. Their intuition sees what you can't hide. There is something almost unnerving about being around a Sigma INFJ because you quickly realize that your words don't matter as much as you think they do. Your rehearsed stories, your polished facade, your carefully crafted mask, none of it holds against their intuition, because they see straight through it, past the noise, into the undercurrents of your intentions. The Sigma INFJ's intuition is not casual guesswork, it is a finely tuned radar that detects dishonesty, insecurity, and hidden motives long before they're revealed. And this is dangerous because it gives them a power few possess, the ability to understand you more deeply than you understand yourself, the ability to anticipate your moves before you make them, the ability to dismantle your defenses without lifting a finger. What makes this even more unsettling is that they don't flaunt this power. They don't announce, "I can see through you." They simply act on it, making decisions, withdrawing, or striking with words that pierce exactly where you're weakest, leaving you wondering how they knew, how they sensed, how they figured you out when no one else could. For the Sigma INFJ, intuition is not a party trick. It is survival. It is strategy. It is the second reason they are dangerous, because in a world built on lies, illusions, and masks, they see everything that others are desperate to hide. 3. They cannot be controlled. Society thrives on control. Systems that tell you how to think, groups that tell you how to behave, relationships that demand compliance. But the Sigma INFJ operates outside of this game, and this makes them impossible to control, which is precisely why they are feared. Unlike others who bend under pressure, who conform for approval, who play roles to gain belonging, the Sigma INFJ walks their own path, regardless of who understands it, regardless of who accepts it, and regardless of who tries to stop it. They are immune to social manipulation because their compass does not point to the crowd, it points inward, to their values, their vision, their unshakable sense of self. This autonomy is dangerous because it makes them unpredictable. You cannot guilt them into compliance. You cannot bribe them into silence. You cannot shame them into conformity. They are the kind of person who will walk away from everything, relationships, careers, communities, if it means preserving their authenticity. And when someone cannot be controlled, they become untouchable. They become a threat to systems built on obedience. And that is why the Sigma INFJ is not just different, they are dangerous. 4. Their empathy is a double-edged sword. At first glance, empathy seems like a soft quality, something tender and harmless, but in the hands of a Sigma INFJ, empathy becomes one of the sharpest blades. Because while they can use it to heal, to comfort, to connect, they can also use it to dismantle, to expose, and to destroy. Their empathy allows them to enter your world, to feel your emotions, to walk in your shoes, and while most INFJs use this to help and uplift, the Sigma INFJ knows that empathy also reveals vulnerabilities. They know how to touch the exact nerve that will break you open, how to press on the wound you're trying to hide, how to use your own emotions against you if you cross them. This doesn't mean they're manipulative by default. Most of the time, they restrain this darker side of empathy because they don't enjoy cruelty. But when pushed too far, when betrayed, when disrespected, the Sigma INFJ will turn empathy into a weapon, and the very gift that once made you feel safe in their presence will become the reason you cannot stand against them. This is dangerous, because very few people expect empathy to have teeth. They expect it to be gentle. But with the Sigma INFJ, empathy is both comfort and destruction, and you never know which side you'll meet. 5. Their detachment is ruthless. One of the most chilling traits of a Sigma INFJ is their ability to detach completely, not slowly, not gradually, but instantly. One day, you were everything to them, and the next, you were nothing, erased, forgotten, cut out as though you never existed. This ruthless detachment is not born from coldness but from clarity. Once a Sigma INFJ has analyzed the situation, once they've concluded that someone is toxic, disloyal, or unworthy of their presence, they flip a switch inside themselves that shuts off the connection completely. No arguments. No explanations. No second chances. Just silence. This is dangerous because most people rely on emotional leverage to maintain control. They think, they won't leave me, they care too much. They'll forgive me eventually. But with the Sigma INFJ, that assumption is fatal. When they are done, and nothing you say, nothing you promise, nothing you beg for will ever bring them back. It is this ability to detach without regret that makes them so feared. Because in a world where people cling, plead, and compromise, the Sigma INFJ walks away without looking back, and that terrifies those who once thought they had power over them. 6. Their mind is a weapon. The Sigma INFJ does not fight with fists. They do not need brute force. Their weapon is their mind, and when it is unleashed, it can cut through people, systems, and illusions with terrifying accuracy. Their mind is dangerous because it is both analytical and intuitive, logical and visionary. They see patterns others miss. They understand dynamics before they unfold. They can dismantle arguments, expose hypocrisies, and reveal truths so brutally that it feels like an attack, even though all they've done is state what no one else dared to. This weaponized intelligence makes them impossible to manipulate. You cannot outthink them. You cannot confuse them. You cannot hide behind lies. They will see through it, unravel it, and present it back to you so clearly that you have no defense left. And the most dangerous part? They don't even need to show their full power. Most of the time, they hold back because they know how destructive their insight can be. But if you corner them, if you force them to unleash it, they will destroy your illusions so completely that you will never see the world, or yourself, the same way again. 7. Their solitude makes them untouchable. Most people are terrified of being alone. They cling to relationships, to groups, to approval, because they cannot survive solitude. But the Sigma INFJ thrives in it, and this makes them untouchable. Their solitude is dangerous because it means they need nothing from anyone. They do not depend on validation to feel worthy. They do not need constant companionship to feel whole. They do not fear being misunderstood, because they have already accepted that their path will always be different. This self-sufficiency makes them immune to manipulation. You cannot control someone who does not need you. You cannot threaten someone with isolation when they already embrace it. You cannot destabilize someone whose peace comes from within. And so, while others bend under the fear of abandonment, the Sigma INFJ stands tall in their solitude, and this makes them one of the most dangerous forces you could ever underestimate. 8. Their transformation is relentless. Perhaps the most dangerous quality of the Sigma INFJ is their ability to transform endlessly. They do not stay broken. They do not remain defeated. They do not allow pain to cage them. Instead, every wound, every betrayal, every loss becomes fuel for evolution. This relentless transformation makes them impossible to destroy. You can wound them, but they will heal stronger. You can betray them, but they will rise wiser. You can try to break them, but all you will do is refine them into something sharper, clearer, and more dangerous than before. And this is the ultimate reason why the Sigma INFJ is extremely dangerous, because they cannot be conquered. Every attempt to weaken them only forges them into a more powerful version of themselves. And in the end, they do not just survive. They transcend. The world underestimates the Sigma INFJ because it does not understand quiet danger. It does not understand power without noise. It does not understand strength without force. But the Sigma INFJ lives by a different code. Their silence is strategy. Their intuition is sight. Their independence is immunity. Their empathy is both comfort and weapon. Their mind is a blade. Their detachment is ruthless. Their solitude is strength. And their transformation is endless. This is why they are dangerous. Not because they seek to harm, but because they cannot be harmed in ways the world expects. And if you are a Sigma INFJ listening to this, understand this truth. Your danger is not a curse. It is your power. It is the reason you intimidate some, confuse others, and inspire the rare few who can see you for who you truly are. You are not dangerous because you destroy. You are dangerous because you cannot be destroyed. That is the truth of the Sigma INFJ. And the world is not ready for it.